Welcome back, everyone. Fresh on the heels of a medal.
Yeah.
For Kato. Yeah, that medal's awesome. It would be even better if we had video footage.
We do have video footage.
But everyone listening doesn't know that.
You can't give me shit about not having video anymore.
I can, it's just less relevant.
Yeah, it's just wrong now.
All right. Well, we're back for another episode, and we've got a crew. So, Jen, Chase, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having myself back.
Betcha, bud. So, a little rusty, I suppose, but we're going to jump right in here. I know we've done an episode in the past about Kato, the beer, not Jen's and Brad's son, but we've done an episode in the past about Kato, the beer, but we just wanted to bring it back on the heels of a silver medal at Great American Beer Festival. So, Danny, this was an idea you had, and let's just jump right in. What does, from a brand perspective, between you and Jen here, what does something like the recognition of everyone's hard work in the form of a medal at a national or an international competition do for the brand itself, from y'all's perspective?
Nothing like just start heavy for
Yeah,
me.
jump right in.
Well, I say all the time, there's a lot about about building a brand, and I think there's something to be said about someone else saying they have confidence. It's like a third party is saying they have confidence in our beer. So to the consumer, they're like, oh yeah, I already knew I had confidence in their beer already, but now this third party is saying, hey, oh, by the way, these guys really are legit. This is a good beer. In general, I think there's just something to be said for the consumer to see that value from basically a third party.
It always feels good to get recognized, right? Like whether or not that affects sales or not, whether or not that affects how we market the beer or our approach with the beer. I think it's always like a great rah-rah moment to be recognized for, the hard work that our production staff put into that beer to create a great recipe, to really refine that beer itself, and to kind of get that, to get that medal. And I think that, I don't want to steal Chad's thunder, but I think we all knew that it was a really good beer, and it may not bump the sales of it up a ton, but...
Well, does it?
We definitely saw a boost this time, right? The first medal we won was for the French 75, so there was no metric there. We didn't really have it available in market. But there was definitely a little bit of increase in demand, and then online with our beer finder on the website, we saw an increase in shout out Eric Burrows. We saw an increase in searches for Kato, which I thought was really interesting. From a day-to-day, depending on the account that you're talking to, they may not, be as interested in whether it's won a gold medal or not, or a medal. But to the consumer, again, it validates, it brings recognition to the brand overall, right? That we're building consistent beers that are being recognized on a global scale as being the highest quality.
So it does impact sales, if I'm hearing you. I'm about to go full Joe Rogan and just make this interview style here.
Yeah. It sure as hell doesn't hurt.
Sure. I just have...
I agree.
I think
it's going to. I think it is going to. But.
Well, I have theories and suspicions that some are fruition and some are not, right? Last month in the tap room, we did almost double the volume of Kato that we did same month previous year.
Wow. Okay.
So that to me, just intuitively, would tell me that it does, right? Now, our taproom volume as a whole was up, and our brand is higher recognized. So there's some noise there, right? There was also a little bit of COVID left at this time last year.
Yeah, and by no means was I like discounting that it would affect sales or not. I was just more, my point was kind of getting towards like, I think that it's a great internal thing for us, and I don't want to discount how much it means to all of us for, a beer like that to get recognized. And I think it's really cool that it's, a canned beer that is semi-available, in draft almost year-round, and then periodically, like, in cans, too. So I just think that's a really cool concept and a really unique award for us to get.
I totally agree. I would say, to Chad's point, the last beer that won was French 75, which we didn't have the ability to benchmark. I probably would have told you that the best value to come out of that is rewarding our team for the hard work. And that still might be accurate. I guess, frankly, what I'm saying is I'm a little surprised at the recognition that it did drive. Because I think we get honed in, right? We get honed in our world. And in our world, these competitions matter. But I often wonder if anybody else pays any attention or knows. I would say that based on just that data, that it boosted recognition, if nothing else, more so than I would have thought.
Yeah, I was about to reiterate that too. I mean, I had no clue about those numbers, but that is quite a bigger impact than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Just because I think even specifically our clientele, maybe more than some other breweries, like, we have a big happy hour crowd. We have a big, suburban crowd that visits us regularly up here. I'm not sure how in tune they are with the beer community, but it sounds like more than I would have given them credit for.
Yeah, I was. What you said I like the most is, for all of our medals, whether it's GABF, whether it's World Beer Cup, whether it's whatever, Ohio Beer Cup, go all the way down the list, right? My first text always when we win, or phone call always, is to our production team. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, you guys deserve this recognition. You make the best beer in the state. And what you kind of reiterated that, right? Regardless if sales went up or not, it's great that they get that recognition.
Mm-hmm. And like, I hope that they know that, irregardless of winning medals or not. I think you three from the top down are good about letting people know, that we're a talented team and recognizing that. So this is just a cherry on top and a nice little motivation heading into 2023 to keep chugging along.
Yeah, I align more with Danny on that. I don't put a lot of weight into the awards. It's great recognition, but if we don't win, because, most years we probably won't win with all the breweries that are entering, and, we probably won't win. And it's nothing to be disappointed about or to get upset about from a production standpoint, because we are making good beer. One thing I do think that we do put a lot of pride in the fact is that the beer that is being sent out to GABF and all the awards is the same product that our consumers can buy. Unfortunately, which I didn't realize until the last couple of years, but a lot of breweries will do a specialty batch or use more expensive ingredients and then send that into GABF, and it's I just think that's not right, because the consumers should be able to see that you've won that award and then consume the same recipe that's been driven off that award. And
yeah, it's a bait and switch to the consumer, right?
Yeah. But it's something that we should definitely be proud of. It's a good feather in the cap, and it's nice.
It was fun to hear all of the, not all, but, we have often on this podcast talked about how of all of our beers, Kato has, maybe the biggest cult following of folks. Like, I joke that there's only 20 people that drink this beer and they drink all of it, and that's an extreme exaggeration because a lot of people love this beer, but it was fun to kind of like rib some of the folks that have been big fans. They're like, yeah, I knew this all along, or I want to try that gold medal beer. There's no way it's better than Kato. And all that
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
I also would like to try the gold medal beer.
Yeah. No, I think this is a really incredible beer, and it's a pretty unanimous beer amongst our team that a lot of folks really, really like it. And I have a couple people in my life that are part of the Kato cult that thoroughly enjoy it. And anytime I post that we have cans of it, I'll get text messages within a 24-hour period of like, hey, I'm swinging by the brewery to grab Kato cans. You want a beer? So I always really enjoy that. My buddy Jake Lemire listens to this podcast, and he's one of them. He loves this beer, so that's really cool.
Yeah, shout out Braden Hanen.
Yeah, Kato Braden.
Yeah, Kato Braden.
He'll definitely be listening to this.
Yeah.
After I send a message to production team, congratulate them on the award, I also send a message to Huff for the script guy who's roasting our coffee.
Yeah.
Who gets here and has the coffee roasted, and within 12 hours we're putting it in the actual product. So,
Which is
really cool.
It's incredible.
It's a really cool wrinkle to that beer, too, that we do loop in our coffee partners. And a big reason why the beer is as good as it is because we get it fresh and we're familiar with the product. And, we work very closely with the people that roast it. So it's another little layer that's super cool.
Yeah, and along the same lines of what Chase is talking about with production, right? It's something we take a lot of pride in with our beer. They take pride in that as well, and it's a consistent product, right? So, which matters for all beer. It also matters even more for a beer in which you're adding something like coffee to every single time. So, the fact that it does taste the same every single time is really important.
I think Huff heard us talking about it.
Is that him walking up?
Yeah, he's walking up the stairs now. Now that we have a video podcast, maybe you can pop over for a little bit. But yeah, he definitely, his ears were bleeding.
There's certainly not room for him at this table.
We need a bigger table.
So if this were, Chad, if I were a consumer listening to this, I'm intrigued. This is a beer that Sonder sells. Danny has mentioned that it's available basically year-round in our tap room on draft. What if I can't get to the tap room for whatever reason and I'm looking for it in cans? What does that look like? How available is this in cans?
Are you just setting me up to go drive you over to the website?
It's funny, obviously there's an inside joke element to that, but it is an opportunity for you to share a little bit more about how people may be able to either get this beer or some of our others.
Yeah, so, recently we've invested in some tools. So you can go on to sonderbrewing.com, and I think we've talked about this in a previous podcast. Go to sonderbrewing.com, and there's a tag at the top that says Find Our Beer. And based on your location, you can search a certain radius, both on-premise, off-premise, draft, or package, and search by a specific beer. And anything that has been purchased by that account in the last 30 days is going to show up. Not guaranteed to be there. Make sure you call ahead just to confirm. But there's a pretty strong likelihood that product will be on the shelf or on the tap line when you show up.
Is Kato one of those beers?
Yeah, it certainly is. And also coming back in cans here soon.
Yes.
So that's very exciting.
Love that.
Yeah, we love Kato package.
Also an opportunity, if you're listening to this, there's probably an opportunity for you to take home a six-stole for the holiday parties out of our tap room.
Yeah.
Just saying, a little shameless plug there.
Great Christmas brunch beer.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great brunch beer in general. It's even better at the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, if we had to do top 5 morning beers, it might be number 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. But if I'm not mistaken, Kato cans are available, right? We canned it this week. I don't know if it's hitting distro yet, but very timely podcast to be doing this while we got cans available.
It's almost like you thought it through.
Who would have thought? Yeah.
Jim, what is as this beer has taken shape? Does your son Kato? Does he notice? Does he care? Is it just kind of another thing? He's busy in the football world and in high school, so he probably doesn't care much.
He is busy in high school, and obviously he's not 21. He's not going to drink beer. But I think at first, when we first did it, he was a little embarrassed. Like, whoa, it's a beer. I don't know about that. But I think there's enough people now that have had Kato the beer that know him, that say things to him, that he's kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, I think that's kind of cool.
When's Chloe going to start asking for her beer?
She already does. I got the out that's trademarked already, so we're good on that.
What is the Venn diagram of people who like know of Kato? The student, the athlete at Kings High, and then the other circle being people who are familiar with the beer, and then like the middle. Like how many people? Like what's the big overlap there? I think that would be because like there are a lot of people who I ran into at Kings. I was working an event at Foaling. With Andrew and Arlie Gnome. And I had someone in the Kings community come up and say, like, oh, yeah, Sonder is, like, my favorite brewery. I live in Mason. My son goes to Kings. And it was after one of the playoff games. I was like, oh, yeah, were you at the football game last night? He said, yeah, my son's on the team. I was like, oh, cool. My boss is Kato Meisner's mom. He's like, oh, I never put that together. I was like,
whoa, really?
Yeah.
I think there's still a lot of people. Obviously, Kings is a huge community.
Right.
Even though Kato does stand out a little bit,
You could say that.
But it's still a huge community. So is Mason,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so there's still tons of people. But I think there are a lot of people that know him that come in here and specifically see that and try this beer because they know him or they know us or they know a friend who recommends this beer to them. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to have a
kinda
Kato
fun.
with him.
I know.
Yeah.
I
I
know.
know.
That's going to be awesome.
No.
Maybe one or two.
it will be fun.
I'm worried about when he's a starting power forward for Duke in a couple of years, the NIL money that we're gonna have to pay to still have the rights to call this beer Kato.
That's true. It's a tax write-off for me. But
Ultimately, I hope like Kato just knows that, you know, regardless of this beer, he was going to be loved. But he's a loved guy in this community, in this building specifically. I even think about my dad. What's up, Dad? I know you're listening. Him and I turned on the Kings playoff game when Kato was playing, and we liked watching him so much more than watching my high school that was playing at the same time, that we muted the TV and turned on the sound of my computer that had the Kings game on. We were just enjoying that so much. Even my dad, who, you know, is loosely involved with us, just fell in love with Kato and the beer and the person and the story. So hopefully that continues to translate with this beer.
it's fun. He is a he's a fun kid, and he's very, very shy. But when he comes in here and he sees these microphones, he loves podcasts about sports and stats. And he watches them, he listens to them. So if we ever wanted him to talk sports, he would definitely do it, but he'd have to have his back turned to everybody. But he could talk sports with you all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely statistics. He loves football. He's definitely a study. So I think hopefully eventually he'll learn how to study beer a little bit more, but we'll
time.
see.
Well, he's been back working in production already, so.
That is true. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yep. Okay. We got video now, Danny, so I got to be careful about that.
Yeah, I need to workshop that a little bit. I think I will be still doing a little bit of cutting to the video. But it'll be transitioned. So
we're being recorded too.
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the heads
Oh,
up,
we
guys.
forgot to get your signature.
Oh, you mean
on that. Sorry.
you mean the giant camera sitting over there in front of the table
I got
that
you to
wasn't a
sign the
dead
waiver last
giveaway,
week,
Chase?
It's a camera. It's not a video recorder.
Yeah, it's video recording.
Video.
What are you, 92 years old?
It looks like
We'll
a camera.
pop it in the VHS later.
Yeah.
Somebody wasn't holding it on their shoulders over there.
That would be funny, though.
That would be awesome.
If you could do that from now on, Danny, that'd be fantastic.
Stand behind the camera. I actually wouldn't mind that. I'm a little nervous being in front of it, but
Really? Why?
I'm so used to being the one behind it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're fine.
you've got a face for TV.
Thank you.
I feel like I got suck in my gut now.
I should have wore Spanx today.
So real quick, because I'm sure we've had some new listeners and now viewers that maybe haven't listened to the first Kato podcast. For those that don't know, and Jen, you can add any color to this. It's your story to tell, but Kato and where we got that was one of the beers that launched when we opened in 2018. It was one of the first beers that Chase produced on our pilot system. Air quotes, homebrew system in your garage, a couple of years before we opened, was one of the first beers that you had a vision for, was this Kolsch with coffee. And what transpired was we used Ethiopian coffee and named it Kato because Jen and Brad adopted Kato from Ethiopia. So the full 360 there between the lineage of Kato the person and Kato the beers is a really cool story. I would encourage people to go back and listen to that podcast. If I'm not mistaken, I think even Brad was on that
I think
episode
Brad was on there, yeah.
Yeah.
to talk more about
I
it.
do have a question, though. I remember, Chase, you talking about it kind of just worked out that you preferred Ethiopian coffee.
Yeah.
But, what was, did you have a beer that inspired that idea? Or, what kind of came to your mind with that? Because, I mean, if you had pilot brewed that, you know, in 2017 or maybe even 2018, that would have been a little pre the like coffee, light beer,
Right.
you know.
Oh, it was. It was. We
that,
felt.
you know-
I mean, we felt very much on the front end of that.
Yeah, because it's very. I mean, I shouldn't say very, but like you can go to a handful of breweries, especially here in Ohio, for whatever reason, and find a similar style of beer. But that's very, very recent.
Yeah, that was 2017. It was actually very serendipitous that we ended up using Ethiopian Yirgacheffe beans because we tested actually probably 3 or 4 different beans.
Yeah.
And when I was researching the beans, I liked the notes of the Ethiopian with it's got like a little bit of a lemon rind peel to it and a little bit of citrus notes. And I didn't really want like a coffee, like a big roast coffee flavor. I just wanted something that was light, fruity, and a little bit estery. And the Ethiopian worked out perfectly.
I actually get like notes of blueberry
Yeah.
in the coffee aroma.
Well, and the base of the beer too has a touch of ester profile to it as well. Yeah, the coffee plays nice with it. And it's nice, light, refreshing, crushable.
And to your point on Stephen Huff and our script partners, I do feel that we've really dialed in the you working with them. We have dialed in the way that they roast and produce that specific bean, which is Kato as well.
Yep.
They sell it as the Kato roast of their Ethiopian beans. The marriage between those two products really has come to fruition.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy too that Huff was saying that, you know, outside of this building, there's a couple of bags that do a little better than others, but it's really cool to me. It just proves that correlation is causation here, that the best-selling coffee from Script in the Sonder building is Kato and Otto. It makes a ton of sense. I mean, anyone could have predicted that, but it is just really cool that folks are, you know, sitting there enjoying an Otto. It's like, oh, I'm going to take the coffee that they use for this beer home with them. It's almost like a fuller experience of they get to enjoy this beer, but then, you know, if they want to go home and have a cup of coffee in the morning and, you know, kind of have that same experience, they're able to do it. Like, I think that's very, very cool and very unique. And there's a couple breweries around the country that produce coffee too, but it's nice that here in Cincinnati we're able to provide that experience.
I think it's a little harder to find a good Ethiopian roast coffee in the Cincinnati area, especially for home. Sometimes places will have it already brewed for you, but I think it's hard to find one that you can take home with you. I know Starbucks used to have one, they got rid of it, whatever, but I think nice that it's kind of always available for the consumer.
Well, so
that coffee.
This is kind of a good segue. So you brought that up. The Ethiopian culture here in Mason is richer than I think some people might think.
Yeah.
And that's something that you and Brad were tied into early on throughout your process of bringing Kato home and into your family. Talk a little bit about that and the Ethiopian culture that you guys kind of experienced here and how maybe that kind of changed or shaped you and Brad early in that process.
Once we knew we were going to adopt from Ethiopia, we started doing a lot of research about the culture, and we knew we wanted to really know as much as we could about the people and the culture and the country. And part of that was there was a local community here in Mason that was families who were adopting from Ethiopia. Some Ethiopian American families were a part of that, even though they did not adopt children from Ethiopia. They had this intense pride of, this is my culture that you're studying, so we'd like to be a part of it. And a number of families from Cincinnati, Dayton, and Columbus, there's actually quite a big Ethiopian American immigrant community in Columbus. We would get together quarterly, annually. We did a camp. We had dinners where some of the Ethiopian American women literally took us into the kitchen and we cooked for like 24 straight hours. It's a very different community than you would find here in the United States. I always laugh about our experience. We went to our friend's house for a dinner. And they invited us over, and they said, oh, come at 4 o'clock. It starts at 4 o'clock. So we get there at 4 o'clock, and literally no one's there. It's just us and them. There's no food. There's no nothing. And so through our understanding, we got to know a lot more about the culture and how no one shows up on time. Everyone shows up. Like if they say 4 o'clock, you don't show up at 4 o'clock. You show up at 6 o'clock. And you bring food. It's all finger food. You don't. So I brought something that you needed a fork, and they're like, we're not going to serve forks. You should have brought finger food. So just like learning.
So they're like eating spaghetti with their hands. Those are my kind of people.
I mean,
Can't
like,
anything be finger food if you try hard enough?
That's right. That's right.
theoretically, yes. But they would make everything from scratch, and sometimes it took days to make, which is just, it's not an experience that I ever experienced with my family. And it's very still wrapped in the culture that you would see if you were living in Ethiopia, where like specifically the women do most of the cooking. The men a lot of times will sit and have coffee. The women roast the coffee. The men drink the coffee. Then later they'll have beer, then coffee. Very late into the night, talking and hanging out. But it's only after the men are served, then the women eat. I made that mistake as well. I ate with the men at one point. It was very embarrassing. But you have to learn somehow, right? But it's very... It's not degrading in any way. It's not offensive in any way. It's just beautiful the way their culture handles that. And, of course, the men do a lot for their families as well. It's nothing like they're lazy. No, it's not like that at all. It's very respectful. But the roasting coffee ceremony was one of my first really fun experiences where my mom never roasted her own coffee. I mean, she did a lot of things, but she never roasted her own coffee. And to drink that on the spot was... It was just so good. It was like nothing.
And you're not even a coffee fan. Like you don't normally
I'm
consume
really not.
coffee. Yeah.
But if I was going to choose coffee now that I've had it over and over again, I always go to the Ethiopian first. I like the flavors. Yeah. So anyway, it's been really cool to get to know lots of those families and more about the culture. And
do you think that's something? Is that something that as time goes on that will be more ingrained in your family, or is that something like how does that move forward with your family, right? Through Kato.
I absolutely hope that he embraces that at some point.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that, you have kids, all you can really do is show them.
For sure.
They have to embrace it in their own way at some point. We always say Kato's like the most American Ethiopian you'll ever meet because he loves cheeseburgers and he hates Ethiopian food.
Does he have any desire to go back to Ethiopia and visit it?
We brought it up to him once and he started crying, so I don't think he understood what that means yet, but I think I would love to go back with him and have that experience with him.
And that's heavy, right? Like that's,
looking in the face of, and there's lots of Ethiopian Americans that we've introduced him to. It's not the same as going to where you were born and looking in the face of all these people who all of a sudden look like you and you've never had that experience before.
Yep.
So I think it would be amazing, but again, I want him to say, yes, this is something I would like to do, and then we'll help him make that happen.
Yeah, for sure. And that's heavy for a 16-year-old to wrap your mind around, right? I have to imagine, especially knowing Kato for a lot of his life, like that's something that as he gets older, that's something that will definitely, I would say, come to the forefront of his mind. Right now, he's not thinking about that.
He's the most routine kid in the world. If he doesn't have Sports Center on when he gets downstairs, he's going to be mad. So I don't think he's going to Ethiopia anytime soon, but
he's been focused on getting his driver's license and playing sports and studies, right? Like that's the life of a high schooler.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that there'll come a point in time where he's going to feel that calling, right, to go back and
I hope so.
Feel the ground
I hope
there.
he does.
Yeah.
I hope he eventually says, or even if it's maybe there's a college campus experience or something where he's all of a sudden like, Mom, this is really cool.
At Michigan?
But you never know. Of course, at Michigan, definitely at Michigan.
If he wanted to go to Ohio State, how would you guys feel about that? Let's just have that conversation right now on this podcast.
I would be fine with that, of course.
Closer to home, I guess.
Yeah, closer to home. We know a lot of great people at Ohio State too. So
That felt like a very nice answer.
yes, but he's going to Michigan.
I love hearing Kato stories just because him and my brother would have been really good friends if they had like gone to high school together. They're just so similar. Justin is also like my brother. Justin is on the quieter side, but very intellectual. Loves sports, and he was one of those guys that lived and breathed football and basketball for the majority of his life. And he also is like kind of a student of the sport, and he actually does have a podcast with his friends about Cleveland sports, and I could see Kato doing that with his friends later in life too. I think Justin and Kato, had they gone to high school together, would have been really good friends. So it's always fun to kind of hear those stories. Justin's also a very particular eater. He's gotten better with age. He was also the kid that ate like ketchup sandwiches growing up. Like he just had 3 things that he liked, and that's about it.
Your brother is intellectual and super smart and has takes that I would call not good.
Often bad, but he'll stand by them.
I'll never forget. This won't mean anything.
He's very loyal to his takes.
This won't mean anything probably to many people at this table or maybe to half our listeners. But to those that understand what I'm about to say, will get a kick out of, hopefully, the first time I met your brother. I too am a big sports fan. I also like to just be obnoxious, even though I don't believe half of what I say. And Justin argued with me to the point that he was like shouting that Cam Newton was the top 3 quarterback in the NFL at this time. And it was well past his MVP season.
Yeah.
To the point that when he picked us up that night, we were out in Cleveland.
I forgot he picked us up.
When he picked us up, he didn't want me to ride shotgun because he was afraid that I was going to bust his chops about Cam Newton.
He's a passionate guy.
So if he's listening, if Justin, if you're
I'll
listening,
get him to listen.
I would like you to know that your sports takes stink.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're a great dude.
I tell him that often.
Okay, so we can kind of tie a bow on the Kato the beer conversation as we segue back into that. I would like you guys to know, or I would like you guys to share with me, if so is Kato the beer? We've talked about. We've heard from many people. I'm getting somewhere with this. I'm fumbling over my words here, but we've had many people who have come to us since our anniversary when we released Hazelnut Kato,
So good.
which was a huge hit, fan favorite. Say that they'd like to see us do more of that with Kato. I have one that's in my back pocket, but I'm going to wait. If you guys could do one other coffee variant, whatever, with Kato, what would it be that we've never done? And it could be something simple. It could be, so we've done Kato latte, barrel-aged Kato latte. We've done hazelnut Kato. What is it that you guys would like to see us do with Kato, the beer? Go ahead, Chad.
I'm not going to say pumpkin spice.
I'm gonna say pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
I knew Jen was gonna say it. I knew Jen would.
Damn it.
Less spice, more pumpkin.
Yeah.
But pumpkin doesn't really have a flavor, right? Everybody associates
Squash.
pumpkin pie. It's really like the clove and the allspice and the things in it, right?
So I'm a coffee drinker, but I just drink black coffee.
Yep.
So for me, it would be like a double Kato.
Oh,
So just like more bean, more pronounced coffee.
coffee espresso or
Yeah, like in
espresso.
exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, just a double version.
Red eye.
I mean, there's already 2 pounds of coffee per barrel.
Make it more.
Take it to 11, Chase.
Yeah, let's go.
What are we doing?
We would definitely need that circulation tank that we've discussed
Yeah.
in the past.
Oh man, I think there's a lot of options. Like, I kind of go back to, luckily we have access here to a really good coffee roaster. So I'm often just making coffee at home at this point. But like I'll dabble in the like seasonal like Starbucks releases, like I think peppermint's always a fun one. Cinnamon's always fun. I think there's a lot of like subtle adjuncts we could do to it if we ever had a Kato day or something like that.
Okay. Chase?
I mean, raspberry would be good.
Yeah, it would be good.
Yeah.
I think it would be good. I do. I think it would be good.
That's the most on-brand thing you've said.
Anytime we have a conversation like this, and Chase is just like hoping he can pitch raspberry.
I think raspberry would be good.
Yeah.
Just a
Maybe
subtle
blueberry. I don't know. I'm thinking blueberry too with your
blueberry would be really good. Yeah.
I mean, there are huge berry notes in the coffee. It's so distinct when you're drinking Kato, and you don't
really
know.
is.
It almost catches you in a good way, catches you by surprise.
You're saying in the coffee itself?
Yeah.
Especially if you do like a cup at a time pour over. I really get it when I do that.
What
Very
about
mixed up Kato.
Well, like a juniper herb, like juniper rosemary.
I mean, I love.
something.
I would see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Touch of coffee there.
Yeah.
that's interesting. It's a really interesting thought. I think it'd be so. Danny, you said the one I was going to suggest. I think if we did like a peppermint mocha Kato for the holidays, would be awesome. Or I'll just jump right in.
I know where you're going, and I won't say it.
I don't know that you do know.
Oh, I know.
Eggnog?
Yep.
Oh,
Eggnog.
man. That would
I
be
was gonna
so
say
good.
Caramel, maybe
Because
caramel.
you're a sucker for an eggnog latte.
Dude, I love
Yeah,
eggnog.
I do too.
I took Chad the other day. We had a meeting off site, and then on the way back in, I was like, "You want to get a coffee real quick?" And it was a mass coffee place. We don't need to say
No free
more.
ads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no free ads. It was a mass coffee place. It wasn't like a local joint. And I went there specifically thinking they'd have an eggnog latte for the holidays, and they did not. But I do love eggnog.
You could do eggnog.
I mean, I know you
I don't know
like
how much
eggnog.
you'd want to do. But
I know you like eggnog.
I can do. I used to drink quite a bit when I was a kid growing up, but now it's like I'll have maybe a pint a year and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Dude,
I've also tried the vegan eggnog and it's nicht so good.
But there's-
I had no milk one.
I had oat milk.
Oat milk
I have oat milk
eggnog.
in the
Yeah,
fridge
it's
at home
good.
right now.
I only consume oat milk for
I
milk.
had an oat milk eggnog last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought you meant. So I made homemade eggnog a couple weeks ago.
Delicious.
I love it. I love eggnog. I'll try all the brands, do everything. I made homemade eggnog, and it was at that point I discovered I'm the only person in my family that likes eggnog. So I drank it all.
You had booze in it though, right? What's
This
it called?
so this particular batch I just drank.
in my
all
house,
of it.
that's just eggnog. Like,
I did not add any booze to this one. I did take a portion of it and put it with coffee.
That'd be good.
And then I have since bought several more. I bought an almond milk one. I bought an oat milk one. I bought just the standard full fat
like
milk
flights.
one. I love eggnog, man.
yeah.
I'm gonna try that oat
get it.
milk one again.
Hey,
just-
Bip recommended it to me, just so you know. Dorothy Lane Market.
Ooh, Hertzler's.
I'll hit it up.
Speaking of no free ads, I shouldn't have said that, but
think
listen,
that's
that's the best eggnog brand, and the only
that's
place
what
I've
I
ever
read,
seen it
yeah.
is at DLM. I'll give them an ad because they're good partners of ours.
For sure.
Yeah, when are they coming to Mason?
This
I'm
portion of the,
excited
of the podcast is sponsored by
don't-
Dorothy
Project
Lane Market.
just got finally approved.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're
By nightly approved. I don't know what that
That'd be great. Not that. I mean, Kroger's great too.
Yeah,
it's just going to be fun.
yeah, they're great.
All of our partners are
Don't wanna
equally
upset them.
amazing.
They're fantastic. They're fantastic partners. Also, they really are. I'm not
really
laughing
do.
because they're not. I'm laughing because for those that are listening, I mean, we always say this is an inside track, right? We're waiting on information from Kroger that drastically impacts our year next year. And so, Kroger, if you're listening, you're a fantastic partner. We're giving you ad space here on our hundreds of thousands of listeners podcast.
Right.
Exactly.
I also, for the record, I don't even think this is like a original idea by me. I think it's been floated around before. But I think it'd be really cool if we did Kato, but we released a mix pack or a 4-pack or whatever it is. But it utilizes coffee from different regions of the world. I think that would be really cool if we
think that could
did
be very
like
cool as
a
well.
Brazilian or a Mexican, and came up with 4 that we really like.
World Cup Kato mix pack.
Ooh, nice.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, I think that'd be really fun.
We also might be flexing a little bit of our coffee knowledge with another popular beer in January coming up here.
It took me a second to put 2 and 2 together.
Me too.
Yes, very excited about that.
Me too. Do we want to talk about that or should we wait?
I don't. Yeah.
I think we can talk about this.
I think he wants to talk about it.
Yeah, for I mean, we've always said for those listening, right? You get a little bit of an inside track. Chad, don't push the mic away. I'm giving you credit. This was an idea
we've
you had.
transitioned. I had one more flavor for Kato. We've already been.
Oh,
past
go
this.
ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Butterscotch.
Oof. In beer?
Yeah, it'd be like a butter beer.
It'd be like diacetyl, though.
It'd be like a butter beer, like a Harry Potter. Yeah, just
Werther's.
sit it on some Werther's. Like butterscotch and coffee go together for me.
Listen,
It's delicious.
I in my head, I can only assume that if you have Werther's Originals, that you're 102 years old.
Yep, that's me.
That's
Just had my birthday.
yes. Happy birthday, by the way, December 7th, right?
December 7th, yes.
No, so we can talk about this before we transition out of here, Chase.
Sure.
So an idea, Chad, that you had a while. So let's just start here. So a beer that all of us affectionately love here and has grown wildly popular over the last year is Nocturnal. So our dark lager, it's a Schwarz beer, or as Chase would say, go ahead, tell me how it's pronounced.
Oh, may the Schwarz be with you.
So our Schwarz beer, Nocturnal, we call it a dark lager just because it's easier for people, and a lot of people don't know what a Schwarz beer is.
This is America.
Yeah.
Talk about a beer that is like wildly loved inside this building. We always talk about top 5s. Like Nocturnal might be up there with like Oktoberfest.
It literally might be the beer that's in the most of our team's top 5.
Yeah, I think Oktoberfest and Nocturnal are the 2 that come to mind of the most wildly, like, thoroughly enjoyed beers in this building.
Also, like, what I love is the range that beer has in terms of consumers. Like, so my father-in-law, Steve Voss, who, if you know Steve, right? Has grown up his entire life only drinking Budweiser, and obviously loves Voss, loves Nocturnal, loves it. It's probably Liz's favorite beer we do. It's in
really?
my top 5.
I didn't know that about Liz, yeah.
Yeah, so
I was
just a
thinking of her
beer
as a
that
hophead.
yes, way less,
She was, and when I first moved here in like 2017, she was definitely
almost exclusively
obsessed
hops.
with hops.
Yeah. And now way less.
I think that's like the
the
journey that
evolution.
we've all been on, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean I liked hops a lot more too.
You liked a lot
Back
of
then.
things.
I have
Fair.
I have a weird like 20-second tangent I want to go on here.
Yeah.
I have re-fallen in love with You Betcha. It is.
This happens to me every year.
It's consistently in my fridge now, and because of the evolution of that beer, I can have 2, 3, 4, 5 and not feel like I'm like weighed down afterwards. The beer is so damn good. God, I love it. All right, continue.
Yeah, it's nice. That was
need
nice.
to
That
get-
wasn't
I need-
even 20 seconds.
I need
Nice.
to get that off my chest.
That was good. No, so Nocturnal's a beer that and it has a season that is around the colder months, which we're firmly in Nocturnal beer season. And we've talked internally about how do we bring some awareness to this beer. And so one of the things that we are kicking around, and we don't have a date yet, but we're going to have Nocturnal Day here at the brewery, which is a day where we will have Nocturnal available, obviously, and then have a couple of variants of Nocturnal available for consumers. And one of those that, Chad, you have thrown out, you've been banging this drum for a long time, was coffee Nocturnal. And so I believe that's something we're going to execute.
One might be raspberry. I don't know.
So, yeah, we'll have a couple of different available, but that's something you've been trying to execute for a long time.
Well, I think the idea came from so much feedback we get in the market and also down in the tap room is people ask, like, is there coffee in this? Is there chocolate in this? Because of, the brewing process and the notes that you get, the perceived roastiness, and there's a little bit of like baker's chocolate kind of.
Yeah.
So we have to explain to people that no, we don't put these things in here, but if we did a version of them where we add those, it's just going to multiply and really magnify those flavors that we're already getting from the beer.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun too because we're planning on having the different adjuncts play with each other as well.
Yeah.
So if a customer wants to, they can say, "Oh, can I get 75? Roughly. We're not going to measure it, but roughly 75% of Kato X with 25% Kato X," and they can have it and try it with it mixed.
That's fun.
As long as that gets approved with the bar staff, I guess. I don't know, but
We'll take that up with them later.
yeah.
Or just order 2 and mix them yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
or just ask the bartender.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's
to do it. Yeah.
That was my plan. Yeah.
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 I don't see a
You should
problem.
probably confirm that with your wife first, but
Oh, that'll be. Oh no, that'll go through the proper chains.
I'm
sure I'm scheduling a meeting now.
Podcast to the president.
I'm
Right down the line.
I'm really excited at the prospect of a raspberry coffee nocturnal.
Wait. We did say raspberry coffee.
If you
can
blend them together,
Oh, good
you will
point.
get
Yeah.
a
I
raspberry
guess I
coffee
haven't-
nocturnal.
And the other
Yeah.
flavor that we're planning will also. I don't want to give that. I don't want to give all of them away, but
Yeah, I don't.
S'mores nocturnal called
What?
Puffy Best. That's what I'm planning on.
That's gold, Jet. I love that.
What if somebody listening has a really good idea? Can they let us know?
Yeah,
They know
Yeah.
how to contact us.
absolutely.
Yeah, contact us at Sonder Brewing.
I
Danny's
personally-
team.
DMs are open. Yeah.
yeah, I personally don't care if people come into the bar and say, "Oh, can I mix these?" And
Oh yeah,
why not?
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, love it.
We've had those over the years. I actually think our bartenders kind of get creative with that from time to time. Where like they'll mash up some stuff and
Yeah.
it ends up going great.
Yeah.
My favorite is Jim Falk had we had Big John and we had coconut tears, and he would blend the two of those together and call them Big John's tears. My favorite
tracks.
blend was Operation Goat.
Oh, yeah.
was really, really good.
Well, that was from the keg line. That was just us, being efficient and pushing beer in the line and
Yeah.
having a blended keg.
Yeah, but I think we liked it so much that we started blending them
Oh,
after
I
that
gotcha.
keg.
Gotcha.
Okay. Is there anything else you guys want to share about Nocturnal Day or about Kato or Kato the Dude?
Did we give a date on Nocturnal Day?
No, we haven't
We
yet.
don't have a date yet.
Oh, okay.
We're still working on it.
That was like
in January.
That was a genuine question from me. I didn't know if we had a date locked in yet.
We have the packaging date
Okay.
finalized, but
I know we talked about like mid to late January, so just keep a lookout.
Yeah.
You know how to follow us.
I will add one thing about Kato is that it's still today like one of my favorite labels.
Oh yeah,
But it's a
that
shout out-
Rastafarian.
Yeah, it's a shout out to Haile Selassie and
Yeah.
Yeah.
his work that he did for Ethiopian people with
Yeah, I agree.